She'd gotten the call early this morning. She immediately went to the barn, saddled up Goldie, and rode out to find Storm. She'd been on a horse since she was a baby, so there wasn't any problem keeping up with the ranch hands. To cover more ground, the crew took off in different directions of the vast Calhoun land, and so Jess set off on her own. The Double Bar C had been in the family for generations, and her father had worked hard so it would remain with the Calhouns for many more. Big Clay had loved his horses, especially this stallion. But there had been trouble since Storm had arrived at the ranch. The valuable horse had been mistreated in the past. Eventually, Storm began to trust her father somewhat, but since Clay's death a few months back, the horse's behavior had gotten worse, and no one had been able to handle him. She sighed, feeling the bite of the January cold against her cheeks. She slowed her horse as they came to the rise, and suddenly caught a spot of black. Taking out her binoculars, she saw the welcome sight. "Hallelujah!" she cried out, seeing Storm. Then she looked again and saw a man holding onto his lead rope. She didn't recognize him as one of the hands. Then she spotted a truck and trailer alongside the road. "Oh, no, you don't. You're not going to steal Double Bar C property." She kicked her heels into the mare, and they shot off. Johnny had worked with the horse for close to 30 minutes and had made some headway. The animal was still in distress, but at least Johnny had gotten close enough to loop a rope around his neck so he could calm the animal. And what a beauty he was. His glistening black coat looked well cared for, he thought, as he kept the spirited stallion moving in a circle. He pulled the rope taut, knowing he would need an arena to truly work him. The horse got more agitated when he heard a rider approach, but Johnny couldn't take his attention from his task. "What do you think you're doing on Calhoun land?" He was surprised to hear the female voice. "Trying to help this valuable horse." He managed to maneuver around to see her. "He's not your valuable horse. He belongs to my father." He noticed the pretty buckskin mare. Then he lifted his gaze to the tall blonde beauty who sat straight in the saddle. Her long, slender legs hugged the animal's flanks, and she controlled her horse as if she were born to ride. "Then maybe I should be having this conversation with Mr. Calhoun." He heard her gasp, followed by, "That's a little difficult since his death." Thrown by the news, Johnny slowed the stallion, but when the animal acted up, he turned his attention back to him. "Please accept my condolences, Ms. Jess Calhoun." She took her lariat off the saddle. "What do you need me to do?" Back to the problem at hand. "If you can manage it, throw another rope over the stallion's head," he asked. "Storm. The horse's name is Nightstorm." She swung the rope overhead, and it took a few tries, but she finally hit her target. Johnny watched as Ms. Calhoun walked her mare backward, pulling the rope tight. That helped to get the animal under control, somewhat. Keep it taut. She did. But she also needed questions answered. "Not that I don't appreciate your help, but I have no idea who you are." "Johnny Jameson. I was on my way to see Clay Calhoun. I had no idea about his death." He wasn't sure what else to say. "I spoke with your father last September in Dallas at a horse auction. He'd asked me to come to the ranch then, but I had a job to finish first, and it went on a lot longer than planned." He tugged on the rope. Would this horse ever tire out? "I called Clay right away, but I talked with your brother Holt. He assured me that I'd be welcome whenever I arrived." He caught the sad emotion that played across her face. "When did Clay pass away?" "Late October."